Alrighty, we've been live for about 10 seconds and haven't immediately dropped a billion frames. So, welcome again to another Sunday afternoon SoundGoblin Storytime here on SoundGoblin Gaming. Today we are actually, truly, and really going to finish 999 because I had forgotten last week exactly how much exposition and how much puzzle there was in the true ending path. I am Bograd or Josh.
I'm the Krampus.
I'm Shiv.
And I'm Vincent.
And last time, as we had left off, we
You
had
were
just
there that
gotten
day,
the
weren't you?
whole explanation from Seven about his memories coming back and what he remembers from this ship 9 years ago.
The tall kid in the jacket. That was you, wasn't it?
And now the shocking
Yes,
revelation
it
that
was.
we actually
You are
already
correct,
knew
Detective.
that Snake was there 9 years ago, was one of the kids in the previous Nonary game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me.
Although I don't think we knew that on this timeline, technically.
I told you before
we might
how
not have
Zero
yet.
threatened me.
No, because we
There
didn't get
was
the note
nothing
or
I
anything.
could do.
No,
I
we
couldn't
learned about
say
it in the
anything
library.
about what happened 9
He
years
told
ago.
us flat out.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, that's
That's right.
right.
On this side of things, Snake told us about it. It's, in the other,
But
in the
he
safe
told-
ending,
Yeah.
Clover told us about it.
Yes.
Yeah, but he didn't tell everyone, just Junpei specifically.
Just Junpei.
So you're saying you're not working for Zero, right?
Of course not.
How's it going, Hunter?
Clover, what about you?
Hey, come on! You really think I'm working with Zero? I told you before, you idiot! I was in Nevada, in Building Q. I did hear that a detective rescued the kids on the boat, but I didn't know it was you.
Well, I guess I believe you. Alright, let me ask you another question. Santa's real name is Aoi Kurashiki. He's Akane's brother. You know that?
No, I didn't. Did you?
Well, yes. I know Aoi Kurashiki was her brother. But I didn't know he was Santa. At least not from the beginning. 9 years ago, he was in the middle of puberty. His voice is entirely different now. I'm ashamed to say that even my exceptional hearing wasn't able to make that connection. As such, I had no reason to think Santa was Aoi.
When did you figure it out?
Clover told me that Santa might have been one of the subjects of the initial experiment. It was only a short while ago, while we were leaving the library. When she told me that, I had a feeling.
Santa is Aoi? Akane Kurashiki, June's brother? There's still a lot we don't know. I mean, like a lot. But there is one thing I think we can say we know.
What's that?
The body we found in the shower room. It had to be Nijisaki, dressed up to look like Snake.
What?
Come on, man, what kind of detective are you? You didn't figure that out already?
Harsh.
Hey, go easy on me, man. I just got my memory back, alright? Cut me some slack.
Well, if he is, the 3 murders make sense then, don't they? Yeah, that's right. Murder. Kubota blew himself up, but that was murder too. So why did these murders take place?
If Junpei is correct, and the body in the shower room was Nijisaki's, that means all of the people who were murdered were involved with the creation of the Nonary project. Kubota, the person who conducted the actual experiments. Nijisaki, Hongo's assistant. Musashido, the man who financed the project.
You mean this was all just revenge? Santa is Zero. He's getting revenge for the death of his sister. That's why he killed them.
No, I don't think Santa actually murdered anyone. If I'm right, then it's not hard to figure out who the next victim's gonna be, is it? I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you.
Yes,
Yep.
Right.
the next target will be Gentaro Hongo.
The person who planned the Nonary project.
In other words,
Which is kind of a
Ace.
bizarre follow-through when you realize
What?
that Ace is actually
the
the
hell's
one who
going
caused
on
the
here?
death of 2 of those people.
It must be 6
Yeah.
a.m. Our time is up.
Possibly all 3.
Shit. Come on.
Well, he definitely
we need to
caused
get out of
the
here.
death of the guy who blew himself up.
Yeah,
How?
he caused the death of the Ninth Man, and he did
And
cause
he
the
actually
death of
caused just the other
Nijisaki.
guy
I'm
'cause he
betting
pushed
this
him in the
sucker
door.
opens
Yeah.
the exit.
Yes,
Now,
even though we
granted,
did
Come on,
not get
let's
that
go.
reveal in this path, that is still what happened.
Yeah. Although he didn't actually know it was,
No, he thought it was light, but
yeah.
yes, we got keycard 0 now. And wrong way. You found it. Yeah, and you'll recall last time around we also got the last Zodiac key we were looking for.
yeah. Huh. I think the shaking stopped.
It would seem so, but we are yet to be out of danger.
You're right. Let's hurry.
And just got a
This exit
achievement
needs a
on
Uranus
there,
card,
Seek
too.
a Way Out Again, which, if I recall correctly, is
Hey,
the
Junpei.
achievement for having done
Yeah,
all
I
of
know.
the puzzles in the game. Or all of the escape rooms.
All right. It's open. Let's go.
We do still have one final puzzle, if you can even call it that.
Okay, Neptune Key.
But
Let's see if you work. Yes! I think it unlocked. It says incinerator. So this is the incinerator.
This is the first time I've seen it from this side, but yeah, I think so.
Then there ought to be a lever near the door.
Yeah, right here.
Pull that and the door should open.
Got it. Let's go. What the hell is going on? What's wrong? Are you okay?
Jumpy, you came to get me.
Of course I did. I made a promise.
I'm so glad you're here. So glad.
Hey, what happened to you?
I'm fine. I just fainted. I wasn't feeling very good. I'm feeling a lot better now, though.
Are you sure?
Yes. I just need to rest a little longer. I'm sure I'll be fine. You shouldn't worry about me.
Santa.
Hey, where is it? Where's the gun? You hide it somewhere?
I don't have it. I got sucker punched and they took the gun.
What? Who took it?
What? Isn't that obvious?
I took the gun.
Dun dun dun.
Ace.
it was me. I'm the bad guy. Isn't that a
What the
shocking
hell do you think
revelation?
you're doing,
No,
Ace?
no, not really.
No.
No.
Well, maybe
No.
I ought to say
Kinda figured.
Gentaro Hongo, CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals. You have me at a disadvantage, and I don't like that. You know me, but I don't know you. Do you have any idea how much I've suffered? Can you even begin to understand my pain?
The pain of prosopagnosia, right?
What? No,
Another
you fucking
irritating
idiot.
insect. And how do you know that?
Good question.
No matter. If you don't want to answer, it makes no difference to me. This is a waste of time anyway. It's time for me to go.
I mean, it is actually
First
a valid
is
question
one.
because we didn't
me
actually have
your
any
hand.
evidence for that in this timeline.
No.
8. And with this... 9.
The ninth man. Kubota's bracelet.
I believe I've won this game. I've had quite a time playing with you. I must thank Zero, I suppose.
Wait, what? Ace doesn't know who Zero is. What the hell are you planning, Santa?
At any rate, this game ends now. I will escape, and the rest of you will have a slightly less pleasant ending. I suggest you enjoy your final moments. Goodbye. Wait! What? Why isn't it opening? One more time. Now open! No! What is this? Why? The digital route should be 9! It has to be 9! Then why? Why isn't it opening? Now!
Whammo!
Yep.
Boff.
Oh, that was close. Too close. Thank you, Seven.
Oh, my
Don't
ribs.
mention it. Just one punch ain't enough for this piece of shit.
No,
Yeah.
After what he did 9 years ago, I ought to rip him to pieces.
Go ahead.
But if a suspect can't talk, they ain't much good. Once he's locked up in a cell, we're gonna have a little chat.
9 years ago? Then you must be...
Yeah, you finally figured it out, dumbass.
How many other 8-foot-tall, 4-foot-wide people do you know?
What other Cro-Magnons crawled out of
You
a
killed
the,
Kubota, Nijisaki,
80s
and
movie and into a
Musashido,
police
didn't you?
precinct?
Wait, Nijisaki?
Oh, right. You don't know yet. All right. We'll just go through them in order then. Let's start off with Kubota. You talked to Kubota and managed to convince him to go into door 5 alone. You killed him without making it look like you killed him. The way I figure it, you had 4 motives. 1.
We're up to 4 now.
In the nonary game, the number 9
Amongst
is dangerous.
your motives were such diverse
Whoever had the
reasons
9
as
bracelet could join whatever team they wanted. Adding 9 to any number doesn't change the digital route. Which means that number 9 could do whatever they wanted. You wanted to remove that threat as soon as possible. 2. You wanted the number 9 bracelet for yourself, so that you could make use of its power. In fact, you did use it in the
That's
murder of Nijisaki.
Kind of not a separate motive. It's
3.
basically the same
Even if
thing.
his number hadn't been 9, Kubota was a problem. He knew your past. He knew what had happened 9 years before. You needed to silence him before he told anyone. 4. But last, and perhaps the most disturbing. You used Kubota as a test. You wanted to know how serious this nonary game was. Was it truly life or death, or simply a harmless prank? You convinced him to break the rules so you could see what would happen. That was why you killed Kubota, but he was only the first. Next was Nijisaki, while everyone was off looking for the missing parts for the Reds. You ran into Nijisaki near the big hospital room. However, because of your prosopagnosia, you didn't realize he was Nijisaki. Chiefly because, when you met him, he was dressed like Snake.
Weird cosplay
That was
fetish,
why
but,
you
know,
thought
whatever.
Nijisaki was Snake.
Yeah.
No, that's not... That was Nijisaki? Why? How did...
I'll get to that. Anyway, you thought he was Snake. Snake was one of the kids in your experiment 9 years ago. You remembered him because he was the blind kid. But his presence made you think. Snake was one of my subjects 9 years ago. He probably hates me. But if that's true, why isn't he saying anything? Is he keeping quiet because he can't see? Or perhaps he's working with Zero to get revenge on me. Whatever the reason, anyone who knows my past is a threat. Before he tries anything, I need to get rid of him. That was when you decided you had to kill him. The murder weapon was Kubota's bracelet. You just waved it over the red. Verified your own number and then grabbed Nijisaki's arm and forced it over the scanner panel. Then, when the door opened, you kicked him in. 9 seconds later, the door closed. And then 81 seconds passed. And poor Nijisaki was dead.
And you mean to say Snake is still alive?
Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm as good as new.
I've been over here in the corner,
Thank you for
deliciously
killing the
enjoying
wrong
this
man.
irony.
But I
Even
can't
got this
say I
snazzy
like
robe
knowing
out
that
of
you
the
wanted
deal.
me dead. Although, to be honest, even if you hadn't tried to kill me, I would still hate you very much.
Well, I wouldn't blame you.
Last but not least, let's talk about
Fair.
Musashido's
Fair
death.
mood.
When Clover and I were investigating the chart room, you came over to talk to me. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, exactly. Felt that like,
Oh,
like
a
he
pocket
wasn't like,
watch.
what?
Might I
Nijisaki's
take a
dead.
look
He's
at
like,
it?
damn it! I didn't kill Snake.
I
Well,
handed
shit.
it to you, and you left the room. You had been in charge of the Nonary project. Of course, you would have known the solution to every puzzle. Which would mean that you also knew how to get out of the wheelhouse. All you had to do was place the watch in the indentation on the door to unlock it. With the door open, you could enter the captain's quarters. Musashido was there. Conveniently placed next to him was an axe that practically begged you to kill him with it. You picked up that axe and buried the blade deep in the other man's chest. One blow was all it took. And then you returned to the chart room as if nothing had happened.
There was something I wanted to speak with you about, Junpei. Could you come with
Because
me
he
for
doesn't
a
know who people
moment?
are in this case doesn't mean you just straight up murked the dude.
I had
We
no
had no
reason to
idea
say
who it
no,
was.
so I followed
Yep.
you to the wheelhouse.
Look, at this point, he just hates everyone in a
When
captain's
we stepped
uniform.
inside, remember how you slipped your hand into my vest? You pulled out a piece of paper, the one I used to cheat during the vote. But that wasn't really what you were after. Your true purpose had been to slip the watch into my pocket. It wasn't a very good plan. Had way too many holes, and someone saying the wrong thing could have brought it all down around you. You must have been desperate. But what made you willing to risk it all to do it? Ace, Musashido's murder is the only one I don't understand. You obviously did it, but why?
Because of this.
What's with the paper?
Just read it.
I can't read.
Let's see. Number 1. There are 2 ways you might survive this ordeal. The first is to win the Nonary game. The second is for you to confess your sins of 9 years past. I have prepared a camera in the captain's quarters. The images captured by that camera will be streamed through a satellite and distributed across the world. Simply look into the camera and repent. Once you have confessed everything, I will release you from this ship.
Couldn't take the
To
easy way.
make your
Had to
confession
murder
more
one people.
credible, I have left you a witness in the captain's quarters. Perhaps he will confess with you. The decision is yours. Do as you please. 0.
I
When
have given you
awoke
the
in that
option to
room
not be a
on
piece of
D-Day,
shit.
I found that in my pocket.
And you've taken it.
That was why I chose
The piece
door
of shit
1
option,
when
of
we
course, not
voted.
the action that lets you out.
If I went through that door, I knew I could get to the captain's quarters. As you said, I knew how to enter the wheelhouse. My plan was to find the pocket watch before anyone else. If I could, then my alibi would be set. At least, that was the plan. Unfortunately for me, you got to it first. That sleight of hand was the best I could manage on short notice.
You meant to kill him from the beginning, then? Musashido, I mean.
I only knew Musashido was the witness after I reached the captain's quarters. I asked him, and he answered. He seemed groggy. Perhaps he had only just awoken from sedation.
Okay.
I
at least
suppose
knew who he was before
Nijisaki
he
was in
fucking
much
did
the
that.
same state.
Yes, he did know
He
that it
seemed
was
confused and
Mr. Shino.
disoriented when I encountered him.
Yeah, exactly, Scott. And I would have gotten away with
you
it
are
too if
correct.
it weren't for you meddling
I
kids.
intended to kill him from the beginning, even though I didn't know who he was. I proceeded to the captain's quarters.
Okay, well,
in
listen,
order
he
to
would have
remove this
absolutely just
so-called
murked a
witness.
random dude.
Yeah, he would have murdered whoever was there as the witness. It just so happens that he
You figured it
it
out,
was
haven't you?
Musashido.
You were being manipulated.
Yes, so it would seem.
Like
There was little more
there was
than a
never a
puppet
chance he was
in
actually
many
going to
ways.
repent into the camera.
Everywhere I went,
And
everything
Zero
was
pretty much
already
knew that
prepared.
too. So
The Reds in the large hospital room with the
that's
spatula.
why Musashido was the witness,
Nijisaki
was
was
because he
dressed
knew
like
that it would
Snake.
just basically cause Ace to kill Musashido.
There was an axe in the captain's quarters. Musashido was delirious from the anesthetic, so he couldn't fight back. Nijisaki as well. In retrospect, I can't understand how I could have fallen into such a simple trap.
I mean, there's an easy
But
explanation
yes.
for that. You're actually
Yes.
a fucking idiot.
This was a
Yeah,
trap.
dumbass.
It was Zero's trap. And I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. I did everything he wanted me to do.
Yeah. By manipulating you,
Pongo
Zero
is
was
that
able to
exact
kill
kind
3
of
people
smart
and
where he
keep the
thinks
blood off his
everyone
own
else is
hands.
so much dumber than he is that he can't possibly be
this
outsmarted,
was revenge
and that
for what
inevitably
happened
leads
9
to him
years
getting
ago.
his shit wrecked.
That's why this nonary game happened.
I am Gentaro Hongo. I am the best.
Am
No
I
one is
right?
better than I. The best is
Santa?
me. Me. I am the best.
Huh? What the hell are you
Gentaro
talking
Hongo.
about? I don't know any.
Ain't no point trying to play dumb anymore, Santa. Actually, I guess I should call you Aoi Kurashiki, huh? My memory came back to me, kid. You're Aoi Kurashiki, no doubt about it. Never thought I'd be back in this room talking to you. But hey, I guess this was all part of your plan, right? After all, the person who planned the nonary game this time around was Zero. And Zero's you.
Looks like you really do have your memories back, huh? Well, I guess there's no point in hiding it then, huh? Yeah, you got me. I'm Aoi Kurashiki. I was one of the kids in the nonary game 9 years ago. I made it out. So did Snake over there. But there's one thing... No, I guess there's 2 things you got wrong. Number 1, I ain't Zero.
What?
Wait, what?
Sure, I was helping Zero out, but I'm really more of an assistant, like a secretary. But an assistant's only an assistant. I didn't come up with all this. All I did was follow Zero's orders.
Then, if you're not Zero, who is?
Calm down there, Junpei. Didn't I say 2 things? You made one more mistake. Junpei, you just said, all of this was revenge for what happened 9 years ago. That's
Here we
why
go.
this nonary game happened.
That's not
That's
true.
not it. Revenge isn't the only purpose. There's
Number
another
up
reason
ahead.
you guys were playing the nonary game. To save someone.
No, notably,
Someone-
this again does not get a
Right.
what the fuck is this nonsense
brought
counter
here to
simply
help my
because this
sister.
is the entire
Save Connie.
premise of the game.
I mean, it's
What the
definitely
hell
what
are
the
you
fuck is
talking
this
about?
nonsense, though.
It
Akane
is,
Kurashiki
but
died
it
9
being
years
the
ago
entire
is true.
premise of the
I was
game is
there.
kind of
I
like,
saw-
okay, like, you can't have the game without this nonsense.
What?
Also, Akane is vanished!
Where is she? Where's Akane Kurashiki? Ugh! Oh, my head!
Yeah, both hella haunted indeed.
Feels like it's gonna pop.
7! What the hell is going on?
I don't know. I don't know. I just. Oh! I swear to God, my head feels like it's about to explode.
What was the nonary project?
If Akane
I
died,
know already,
then
but I'll
who
tell
was
you one more
June?
time.
Oh, brain
Project
hurt
designed
me.
to test a particular phenomenon. And what was that phenomenon?
7 only pawn
Two
in Game of
organisms
No
to
Name.
communicate with one another in the absence of physical contact. The morphogenetic field theory. Could human beings use these invisible fields to exchange information? That was what this experiment was conducted to determine.
Turns out
There were
you
two
can.
separate locations. One was the Gigantic, and the other was a building in Nevada called Building Q. The 9 children trapped in Building Q were faced with numerous puzzles, copies of identical ones on the Gigantic. They were told to send their answers into the morphic field set and transmit them to their brothers and sisters on the Gigantic. The transmitters were put in Building Q, and the receivers were put on the Gigantic. Each sibling pair was supposed to be split up, but
As so often happens in bureaucracy.
it was a mistake. Akane was a transmitter.
Some people were bad
She
at their
should have
job.
been in Building Q. However, for some reason, she was placed on the Gigantic with the receivers, like me. Perhaps she was mistaken for someone who was supposed to be in Group A. Whatever the
I do
case,
like this a giant
Akane ended up
organization
on the
capable of
Gigantic.
abducting 18 kids, doing a ridiculous experiment on
I
this
think
scale,
I've told you
and
enough.
they still managed
You
to
get
fuck
it,
up the
don't you?
paperwork and put 2 of the kids in the wrong boat.
I'm pretty
All
sure
led
you
by
know where this is
Gentaro
going,
Hongo,
Junpei.
remember?
And I'll also point out, like,
What
let's
is
be
going
real
on?
here. The bigger the organization,
Don't
the more
play
likely
dumb.
a clerical
You
fuck
know
up like
things
that
you
is to
shouldn't.
happen.
Things you
Yeah.
couldn't. How did you know Ace had prosopagnosia? How did you know why Ace wanted to kill Kubota and how Nijisaki was killed?
Oh, we've already lived through those events in different
Were
time.
you surprised when you found out Ace was
Not
Hongo?
exactly.
And what about the coffin Snake was trapped in? How the hell did you open it?
Well, that's...
So,
Yeah.
Junpei has only existed in this timeline. This is the real revelation of this game. There's a reason why I have made a significant point throughout the entirety of this playthrough. Now, I'm not going to say I haven't messed up here or there, but I've made an intentional effort to try to never refer to Junpei as the player character or the protagonist. And that's because we have never been playing as Junpei.
Nope. No, we have not.
Keep an eye up in the top right, by the way, where it says novel screen currently.
Santa!
Freeze.
Who let him have that again?
Pick it up, we weren't watching. We're
Get
just busy talking to ourselves.
Hey, what's your plan, Santa? What are you doing?
Didn't I tell you? I'm Santa Claus. It's time for me to go make a wish come true.
Look, I don't know what the fuck is going on here either. Stop staring at me.
Damn.
ADV screen.
Well, it looks like this door isn't
No,
opening
that's just the
anytime
normal
soon.
thing. That's the adventure screen or novel screen thing.
Yeah.
It'll
You mean
have
we're
a distinct
trapped?
change in a little bit here.
So it would seem.
What the hell is Santa trying to do?
And is a thing
my
I kind of want to
gosh.
talk about because it's
Oh
a
my gosh,
big
what?
difference between the
Have
Nonary
you
Games
considered where
version
we
and the
are?
DS
There
version,
can really
which
only be one
significantly
thing Santa
lessens
would
the
do
impact of
now.
what happens.
The adventure screen only exists in the
No, you
Nonary
can't be
Games version, not the
serious.
DS version, right?
Yes, because basically
Good.
anything we would see in Adventure Green is normally what you would be seeing like on the
No, on
essentially
the
this stuff would be split down to the bottom screen and the
Yeah.
top screen would just be the like these images.
Or can you?
Junpei, can I borrow your pen and notebook?
Yeah, so it being a DS game, the key point to all of what's about to kind of come into play here is that uh, in general, the like images we've been seeing have always been on the top
What the
screen,
hell are
and then
you doing,
obviously we've
Clover?
always been
Give me
playing on the
that!
bottom screen, which is the touch screen.
Yep.
Now, the very interesting thing is that that text that just popped up, most of the time when we've had those big, like, sort of what we see as like novel things, where it's the big loads of text and, you know, has like a whole bunch of story to it. Most of the time when that happened on the DS version, that would always happen on the top screen. What was notable was the one where it popped up talking about like he knows because I know and all that. You know, who am I am I, you know, the ninth letter, blah blah blah. That is text that actually showed up on the bottom screen on the DS.
What?
And there's no other way?
It's okay. Go.
Lotus.
Come on, you know we can't do that.
Don't give me that. I'm sure you'd love to get rid of me.
God damn it, you idiot! Without... if you're not... Look, it'd be bad, all right?
Bad?
I mean, he wasn't a good cop.
Yeah. If there weren't assholes like you around, I'd be out of a job.
Uh-huh.
Look, I'm just not leaving you behind, all right? End of story.
7.
He's right. I'm not leaving you either.
Me too.
You didn't honestly think I'd abandon you, did you?
You're all idiots.
That being said, however, I doubt we would be able to open the door anyway, even if we were to leave Lotus behind.
Huh? Why?
I trust you remember what happened to Ace? I couldn't, see exactly what happened, but I was able to guess what he was attempting to do earlier at the Red.
Oh, yeah.
No! What is this? Why? That digital route should be 9! It has to be 9! Then why? Why isn't it opening?
Anyone want to take guesses?
Just to see, why don't we give it a shot?
I mean,
Vince, do you want to take a guess? You're the only person who doesn't know.
Some of the numbers are wrong.
not exactly, but it's a good
Exactly.
theory.
Shot.
Yes, that is what I said.
Yep, so likewise, we get an error there, even though our digital route was in fact
You were
9.
right.
It ain't opening.
But it did open 9 years ago. The digital route was 9 then, I'm sure of it.
You think maybe they changed the settings?
No, they already did the upside down thing, Cutnat.
Perhaps.
Technically, June's bracelet was revealed to have been an upside down 9 and not a 6 the entire time. So it is not upside down, but again, good guess. So now, you can
Now
see
it's
here.
just straight up Akane vision.
Yeah.
So the revelation is we have been playing as Akane Kuroshiki
hold
from
on.
9 years ago, the entire game, actually, and just seeing through Junpei's eyes, because we've had a morphogenetic resonance with Junpei 9 years in the future. Now, the reason why we are able to know things from other playthroughs that ended badly is because Akane was still morphogenetically resonancing with Junpei through those, and just has all that information, even though, it was 9 years ago. Now this on the DS, rather than having like a Vision thing, because this again didn't exist in the DS version, this again was just showing up on the bottom screen, which is how it's kind of revealed to you that your bottom screen has been Akane 9 years in the past the entire time.
Hmm.
So you've generally been seeing mirrored images, like when you were doing escape rooms, you would see the same image on the top screen as you did on the bottom screen, but obviously you were only able to interact with the bottom screen because that was the touch screen. The implication being is that this whole thing was set up because Akane needed to have basically Akane was showing Junpei how to solve all the puzzles to get through this nonary game that was set up in order to save her for some reason.
Which will be revealed shortly.
Come on, over here!
And yes, the entire time they were in the nonary game 9 years ago, Akane was morphogenetic resonanced with Junpei 9 years in the future. Which also means that they had to set up the nonary game to exist 9 years in the future in order to create the correct timeline.
Hello? Everyone? Could you come over here for a moment?
She was not number 9 then, Matt. She was verifiably number 5.
She is very important.
Because the whole point is that Junpei
Right
is
now,
filling
she
her
is
role
over
in the
Building
second
Q
nonary game.
and is desperately trying to send information over to me. Her name is Clover, and today is her 9th birthday.
I can't remember if that's actually shown anywhere in the game or not, but it is definitely something that Uchikoshi has verified. Is that in the first nonary game 9 years ago, Akane was
I'm
number
sure
5.
I've already told you, but I am blind. For a man who can't see,
It was kind of necessary to do that so that she could be certain that Junpei would follow the same path that
my
she
sister
followed
means
through
a
the ship.
great deal to me. And I hope that these would show her how much I cared for her. Since it's her 9th birthday, I thought 9 four-leaf clovers would be appropriate.
Here is also where we find the verifiable proof that Clover, despite all appearances, is 18 years old.
For their sake, we have to survive. We have to get off this ship. Do you understand? If we're going to do that, there are 3 things you have to remember. We need trust and love, and we have to have faith in one another.
Yeah, 100 is
If
basically
we can take
entirely
all
a self
3 of those to
fulfilling
heart,
prophecy.
then I promise that good luck will come our way.
Self-fulfilling
Did you know
prophecy
that the leaves
slash
on the four-leaf
stable
clover
time loop that
mean
needs a
faith,
very specific
trust,
path to break.
love, and luck? Those words are leaf words. So if you believe what I've told you, and you understand, then I want you each to have one of these. They're a promise between friends. Now don't ever forget, so long as you have that, we will always be connected. Do you understand?
Yeah, so that's something I brought up when we hit the submarine ending. The thing that is notable about the submarine ending versus every other bad end in this game is that it is the only ending in which we actually see Akane's dead body, because every other ending, she technically ceases to exist because she died 9 years ago because we didn't do the game right and therefore didn't save her.
It's this weird thing where she's here, even
because
though
we saved her.
Even though technically speaking, unless we actually succeed at the game, she died 9 years ago.
What are we gonna do?
She basically needs us to solve the game so she can get the last puzzle.
Yes, and the reason why anytime we started going down sort of a bad path that wasn't going to lead to here, she started developing her fever again, because it wasn't actually a fever, it was literally, she burned to death in the incinerator 9 years ago, and it's now reflecting.
has been acknowledged.
And thus she
Future
stopped
Akane.
the scene via being lit on fire.
Yes.
So now that we've had the reveal that we've been playing Akane the entire time, viewing stuff through Junpei's eyes. Way back in the first episode, when I had my memory jogged about what the whole stupid revelation plot of this was, it was entirely because Krampus made a comment about, like, we're in a bathroom at one point, and you say something like, oh, you know, it's weird for me to be in a bathroom with a bunch of guys. And Krampus made a point about calling that out, so I was like, well, that only makes sense if, oh, right, because you're
The
actually...
door says incinerator.
Huh.
The voice said that the
I don't even
incineration is
remember that
about to
comment.
start. And incinerate means to burn.
Oh well.
Help me!
Like, you made a point saying, like, that's really weird that Junpei's, like, concerned about being in the bathroom with a bunch of guys. And was like, that is weird. Then basically jogged my mind going, except it's
Don't worry,
not
kids. I'm not your
Junpei,
enemy.
so that actually makes
I'm one of the
sense.
good guys.
Yeah.
I'm a detective. I'm here to
You just
rescue
wouldn't know
you.
at that point. You don't have any of the context of this nonsense.
So yeah, at this point in the DS game, again, like I said, the game has done a weird switch up on you, so that the stuff that was normally on the bottom screen is now on the top screen, stuff that was normally on the top screen is now on the bottom, because again, this whole thing is being shown from Akane's perspective.
Yeah, Akane vision.
And this very much plays into a very interesting thing they did with the final puzzle, which unfortunately there's no real way to reflect on the PC version.
Oh no, where is it?
If I remember correctly...
Which is also part of why they completely changed the final puzzle for the PC and for the later
final
release version.
puzzle, the final puzzle on the DS was upside down.
Yeah, basically. I'll explain it when we get there, but...
Yeah.
So now we actually find out what actually happened to Akane there.
There it is!
She had dropped something, so she went back to get it, and that's why she ended up back here where Hongo could grab her and drag her back into the incinerator.
Ah, how wonderful to see you decided to come back.
I'm gonna burn a damn child alive right now.
Come with me.
Because
we must continue the
reasons.
experiment.
Oh, we have to
own
continue
a
the
man-sized
experiment.
incinerator, and I'm getting my money's worth out of it.
Yeah, we had to continue the experiment. We need actual data. We can't tamper with the experiment. Don't you understand science?
No! Stop! Let go of me! Let go!
Fantastic face that Hongo has there.
Stop struggling, goddammit.
That is absolutely the face
Do
of
as
a
I
man
tell
who's
you.
about to burn a child alive.
Help me! Somebody help me!
Akane! Akane!
You came back!
Ah, you're too late, idiot.
Ah!
Okay, let's be fair here, Cutnat. First of all, do you think he would have believed them? And second, even if he did, do you think he would have cared? Like Hongo was determined to trap a child in the incinerator.
Less about the experiment, more about incinerating a child now.
Akane! Akane! Are you okay?
Help me!
Hongo!
He went out the other door!
And I didn't for some reason. That still never gets covered. Like, that's just dumb. Like, there was another open door, Akane.
Emergency incineration command has been acknowledged.
Like, yeah, Hongo may have, like, grabbed you and thrown you back in, but... See, now we're back to Junpei.
15 minutes. Please evacuate the incinerator immediately.
You are now watching.
It is important to note that no matter what anybody says on any FAQ anywhere, there's not actually a timer on the final puzzle in any version of this game.
It's starting. Santa started the incinerator.
It's one of those you can
Man, I
get
never
Mew
thought I'd
under
hear
the
that damn
truck in
voice again after 9
Pokemon
years.
Red and Blue things, where everyone's like, oh, if you actually sit here for 18 minutes,
hell?
you actually get a special bad end. It's like, no,
What
you
in
don't.
God's name are you talking about?
Like, as long as you want to do the puzzle.
It's 9 years this
Yeah.
and
I mean, if
9
it takes you
years
18
that,
minutes
and
to
it's
do this
not 9
puzzle,
years
seek
something,
help.
then
But
you're talking about some sort of fucking
Oh, trust me, as I was talking about with
You aren't making
Bograt,
any sense.
the time limits in Danganronpa are even more ridiculous.
in that there are actually time limits.
Sorry, Lotus, but
There
we
are
really
actual
don't have
time
time
limits
to
in
explain it right
Danganronpa,
now.
but there may as well not be.
I promise. I'll tell you everything once we get out of here.
I could cook a ham in the time limit we're getting, including waiting for it to be
Incineration
up.
will begin in 17 minutes.
You know what that means, right? Incinerate means burn. What kind of idiot do you think
yes.
I am? I know what incinerate means.
I think just about everyone knows what incinerate means.
God damn it! Okay, fine. I won't ask
Okay, so
anything else. Talk
13
about
years ago,
whatever
there
you
was an
want.
instance in which someone was incinerated.
But you have to
And
do
because
something
they
for
were
me.
Shut up!
Seven, figure this out.
What? Why me?
Just shut up and
Despite
stop
being turned
this
to
thing.
ash, their entire body
How the hell?
remained together,
There has
just
to be
ash.
some sort of
Since
emergency
then,
shut up
everyone
button.
who's been incinerated.
There isn't anything like that.
How the hell do you know?
Because I looked for it 9 years ago.
What the hell is that?
A really elaborate computer.
What is that? What is that?
Look, some people just take case modding way too far.
Or a
Look, I get
computer,
it.
or a vacuum cleaner. I couldn't decide which.
I get it. You like steampunk. Chill.
Incineration will begin in 15 minutes.
First is an on switch.
Hey, move! Okay, it's turned on. There's nothing on the screen, though.
Have you checked the connection?
Oh, this is bad. This is
Unplug
really
it and plug it
bad.
back in.
If there's nothing
All
on
right, hit
here, how are we
Windows
supposed
D.
to do anything with it? What is this?
What's up?
It looks like some sort of puzzle. Do you think that if we solve this puzzle, the incinerator will stop? Yeah. Well, we can hope, right?
Incineration will begin in 13 minutes.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hi! How's it going?
Don't know what to do? It's simple, really. But I suppose I might as well tell you. Just solve the puzzle on that machine.
I really don't know. At this point, it seems very difficult to actually determine Hongo's motivations, whether he's just mocking her and knowing that she can't solve the
Oh
puzzle.
my!
Like,
How could
he's
you call a
basically gone off the
gentleman
deep
such
end
as
at this
myself
time, completely.
A terrible person. That's
I
not
know, that
very
looks like the
nice.
face of a perfectly rational human
I'm
being.
quite fair. I don't use tricks or play dirty. You see? I've even left you a way out.
A way out?
Didn't you hear me? All you have to do is solve that puzzle. Do that, and you can stop the incinerator.
What's the point of stopping it? You'll only capture me and make me do this all again. I'm not going to listen to you. If you're just going to throw me back in here, I might as well just die now.
My goodness, haven't you listened to anything I've said? I told you, I'm a fair man.
Yeah, that's believable.
If you solve the puzzle, the verification function of the red
Fairly
will in turn
nuts.
activate. If this experiment is to deliver valid results, there must be a chance of
Yeah,
success.
the English voice actress doesn't
If you
really do small
succeed,
child as
you
as
will
much.
escape.
Yeah.
The verification function of the red?
Ah, so you do remember. Right now there are two numbers in the red. The first is 1, and the second is 3. Say, Akane, what's your number?
Yeah, that's right. Here's where it's pointed out that she's number 5 in the old game.
You really aren't one for listening, are you? I've already told you, didn't I? Once you solve the puzzle, the verification function of the red will activate. In other words, if you haven't solved the puzzle, you can't enter your number. What
You
kind
don't
of
eat
fool
your
are
meat,
you?
you can't have any pudding.
Why are you doing this?
You could never understand. You don't know what it's like to spend every day surrounded by monkeys. Now start the experiment. Solve the puzzle.
I bought a bunch of monkeys because I was rich and it seemed like the thing to do.
Of course you don't.
Now I
Isn't that
deeply
the point?
regret it, and I've
You
gone back.
understand, don't you? Access the morphogenetic field and find the solution.
I can't!
Then you'll die. You'll burn alive. It's gonna be quite hot in there in a few
Now he's
minutes.
taunting a child who
I
intends to burn
imagine it will
alive.
be very painful.
See, perfectly rational.
Even the cackling villain laugh.
Incineration will begin in 10 minutes.
I can't.
And
I just can't. There's no way. I can't figure this out. Help me! Jumpy! Help me! Help me! Help me! Jumpy! 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 Please! Help me! Jumpy!
help me make this scene way longer than it needs to be. Suspense!
Akane!
Who the hell is Akane?
Shut up! Just shut the hell up!
How so, Cutnat? No, it is very explicitly the other way around, Cutnat, the entire time, because Akane is a transmitter. She has been sending the answers to Junpei because we've been the ones solving the puzzles. That is why on the DS version this is
Akane!
flipped around.
Akane! Can you hear me? Akane! Say something!
We'll talk about it in a second here when the actual puzzle comes up, but basically, quite specifically, she's garbage at Sudoku, which is what the final puzzle was on DS.
Akane!
Jumpy?
But yeah, quite explicitly, the entire time, she's been transmitting the answers.
Jumpy!
But the whole reason they set this up was because she could not solve the final puzzle.
Akane!
So she needed him to solve that puzzle for her.
Akane!
Which is even worse
Akane!
with the significantly more dumbed down version of the puzzle they put in the Nonary Games version.
How? How did you know?
Right. There's only one way to help her. You were brought here to
So the implication, Cutnat, is that, technically speaking, Akane is not the one that was solving the puzzles in the original Nonary game. It was the other kid solving them, and she was just transmitting that information to Junpei about how to solve them.
7 minutes.
But regardless, it is still, no, Junpei has not been sending her the answers the entire time. It is, explicitly the other way around.
Junpei does explicitly need to send her the last answer because she doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And she's been piggybacking in your head the whole time.
That, if nothing else, is direct from Uchikochi, that Akane was transmitting the answers to Junpei through the majority of the game until the final puzzle.
Incineration will begin in 6 minutes.
Jumpy!
Yeah, I know. Just hang on, all right? I promise I'll get you out of there. I'm not gonna let you die. I promise. So don't worry, all right? Just give me a few minutes, okay?
He's talking to himself again.
Okay.
The thing about that is that there's a whole thing wherein, yes, there are people that were designated as transmitters and people that were designated as receivers. The thing about it is that transmitters still can receive and receivers still can transmit. They're just not as good at it, is the implication.
Just trust me, okay?
So even though Akane is primarily a transmitter, she can still receive through the morphogenetic field. It's just harder for her. Okay, so the final puzzle in the DS version, as I mentioned,
Think of what I did all those times
is a
before.
Sudoku puzzle. It's a 9x9
I'm gonna do
Sudoku,
this
so
on my own with my own mind.
can
I'm
be
gonna solve this
challenging,
problem.
but not super difficult. Yeah, and that line right there is where it's kind of revealed that Junpei hasn't really been solving a lot of the puzzles on his own. He's just been kind of getting the answers.
Oh yeah, because you basically have him playing as Akane the entire time.
Yeah. So that's where he's like, I'm going to solve this one on my own, using my own mind, no matter what. Now, the thing about it is that...
futures and...
Yeah. Now, the thing about that is that while this was a 9x9 Sudoku, which can be difficult if you're not terribly familiar with Sudoku, or if it's a particularly, blank one, it was also, baby's first 9x9 Sudoku. It was hilariously easy. But as Shiv mentioned, what they did was, in addition to both swapping the screens like they had been, where the stuff that was normally on the top screen would be on the bottom, normally on the bottom screen would be on the top, etc., they also completely flipped the interface of the game. So you actually had to turn your DS upside down to be able to sort of parse it properly, or be able to read upside down if you feel like doing it that way.
Yeah.
But like the entire interface, all the buttons, everything was completely upside down. So the intention was you would flip your DS over to actually complete the Sudoku as you did this. Now, obviously, that's something they couldn't really do on the PC version, and like if you see here, so you can see this is the kind of thing that this doesn't really matter. But like again, you would get a hint in the DS version for like the Sudoku, but again, it would be on the top screen upside down. Essentially, is where you hint on stuff. Meanwhile, this, in case you haven't figured it out, is possibly the easiest puzzle in the history of puzzle games.
Make everything add up to 9 to the matching sides.
Make everything add up to 9 nothing. You can do that if you want to try and figure it out the hard way. Otherwise, you just literally swap the bottom out with fucking password.
Oh, yeah.
That's literally what it is. But now, the difficult thing. We need to know what the password here is. Any guesses?
Password?
No. We can try it, but I'll tell you, it's not
admin.
It is not password, although they did very specifically make it exactly 8 characters long, so you could think it might be password.
Password. Something better like 999.
You're almost there. It's just 9. It's a hell of a password.
Yes, that's it.
It's.
Akane, did you get it?
Just push 9.
Yes, I did. I solved it. I mean, really, you solved it for me, but I copied everything you did. Now I just have to press enter.
Then what the hell are you waiting for? Push it!
And with that, we have solved the final puzzle of the game. But we still got some fair amount of exposition to get through.
Yep.
How much exposition?
A bit. We still need to get out of here, and that door still isn't working.
Ah.
We need to figure that out.
I'm jumpy.
So we need to figure that out, and then we also need to kind of figure out the whole like, what the fuck was all this about? What's going on? Where do we go from here? Kind of thing. But yes, we have now made sure to create the good timeline, or proper timeline, where Akane Kurashiki did not, in fact, burn to death on a ship 9 years ago.
Akane, sorry, but things are kind of busy over here. I'm gonna have to hang up now, okay?
Hang up.
Oh, of course,
the brain phone. Brain phone.
Ah, now that his experiment is a success, he can... Now. I'm not actually sure where you're going with this idea.
He wasn't sure where he was going with this idea at this point.
I mean, again, Hongo did have a very specific reason he wanted to verify the ability to access the morphogenetic field. I mean, it's dumb, but he had a reason for it. He wanted to be able to see faces.
Incineration will begin in 90 seconds.
It doesn't sound like it's stopping.
What the shit? Why isn't it stopping?
That's not how keyboards work. I didn't press it aggressively enough.
So, there's a reason for this as well.
Incineration will begin in 60 seconds.
Well, I mean, the reason why this isn't working, yeah, isn't actually dumb. So to explain, because it has, I know what you're saying is dumb, but it has nothing to do with that. The reason why the incineration isn't stopping is because Zero was recreating the experiment from 9 years ago, but had no idea what the correct solution to that puzzle was, so had no way to set up that puzzle to work properly and accept the correct answer because they don't know what the correct answer is. So there's no way to actually stop the incineration in this recreation.
Ah.
Now the door is dumb.
Yeah.
It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that...
Because the Japanese love their language puns.
Yeah, so the important thing to know here is that the Japanese number 9 is Q.
Yeah, pronounced Q. K-Y-U is how
Run,
it's usually
guys!
transliterated.
Get to the door! Run!
So this isn't the 9 door.
Yes, they're saying seek a door which bears a Q.
Q.
It's a Q. It's a lowercase q on the door.
Quick! Verify your numbers on
This
the
is
red!
the pun door.
Verify?
Now, in the original...
Combination.
In the original Nonary game, it was actually a 9. This was how it was specifically set up
You really think this is a good time
to
to
be
ask questions? Just do
a
it!
Q, so that
So,
these people could exit the door.
Incineration will begin in 10
So the
seconds.
5 remaining people add up to Q.
9,
Which is, I want to say, 26
7,
in,
6,
you know,
5,
base 36 or whatever.
3.
And the digital root of 8.
It's not even digital root. It's literally Q is 26. If you add all their numbers together,
Yeah.
it's 26.
26.
1 through 9, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., etc.
Yeah,
I mean, it
but-
works either way, but yeah.
Yeah. Digital root does match up, but it is just literally, if you add all their numbers up together, it's 26, which is what they need.
Hurry! We've only got 9 seconds before the door closes! Go, go, go!
I mean, it still works in English Cutnat, it just, the pun doesn't come through, but the explanation still is perfectly valid, because it's a math thing, not necessarily a language thing.
There's also a couple other places where, specifically like Ace.
Oh yes, the paper,
and
the note
someone else.
absolutely,
Yeah.
the note absolutely doesn't work in English nearly as well, just because you would have to like look at it and be like, oh, that looks like a lowercase q, which frankly it really doesn't.
Yeah, I think that they've already established that, and there are puzzles that use the
Yeah, and when they
going into letters.
yeah, and when they
Fuck the heck
yeah,
does
and when they
that.
read it out, or even in the text in English, it always says seek a door that carries a 9.
The problem is
Looks
that
like we
door is
made
always
it, huh?
intended to be a pun
Yeah.
based on Q, which
Yeah.
falls a bit apart in the English one since we don't, say 9 is Q.
Which also, by the way, ties into another translation pun sort of joke. In that, if you'll remember, the Nevada building where the transmitters were kept was
Akane?
Building Q.
Akane! Can you
It
hear
is
me?
Building 9.
Akane!
So it was always tied to being part of the Nonary game because it was just Building 9, effectively. Just the inverse of that pun. So they all made it out to 9 years in the future. Now we go back to see what happened for Akane 9 years in the past. Now that she was able to activate the door
Akane!
and get out of the incinerator.
Oh, Aoi!
So yeah, all told, looking at it, it doesn't look like we probably needed to start as early as we did, because we will be kind of zooming through to the end here. There is still some stuff to get through, and I will want to have a little bit of a talk about some, any lingering questions, theories, thoughts, But I did want to make sure we were able to get through it because I couldn't remember exactly how much longer we had to go. So
how does she not explode?
Hmm?
Well, she still has
the dead right there.
The dead. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going through it.
Yeah, she just scans him into the dead and pulls the lever.
Yeah, he left the bracelet.
Yeah, Hongo left the bracelets in the room.
Ah.
Alright, let's get out of here. If we don't book it, we might run into
For all of his
Hongo
insanity, he was still actually playing fair.
Because he had to.
Basically.
I mean, he didn't have to. He could have incinerated a kid.
Well, okay.
He did incinerate a kid, technically.
There's... Okay, so there's more to it than that. We'll go into it in a bit when we actually get to... when the credits are rolling, we'll talk about some stuff that the game never actually explicitly talks about.
Hey, Junpei, can I ask you something?
What's up?
That door, the one with the 9 on it. Why'd it open?
Yeah, all 5 of us verified our numbers on the red. 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 7 plus 8 is 26. That makes our digital route 8. It shouldn't have opened.
That's not like you, Lotus. I thought you would have figured it out already.
Huh? Why?
Because you were the person who taught me about the idea of bases.
Bases?
Yeah. What are the 2 numbers in
You
base
know,
2?
first base, second
0 and
base,
1.
third base.
How about base 10?
That goes from 0 to 9, right?
Then how about base 16?
0 through F. After 9, it starts at A and goes from there. B, C, D, etc.
You're right. In other words, A in base 16 is 10 in base 10. B is 11, C is 12, D is 13, and so on.
So, what about it?
You don't get it? What if we keep going with that pattern? What if you go way past base 16 all the way to base 27?
Base 27?
Yeah.
Well, the numerical digits are the same. So, I guess you'd add alphabetical digits. E is 14, F is 15, G is 16.
H is 17, I is 18, J is 19.
Sure have taken them a long
K
time
is
to figure
20,
this one out.
L is
There's a
21,
lot of stairs
M is
they've got time.
22.
N is 23, O is 24, P is 25.
Yeah.
Vital challenge
And
is stairs.
what comes after that?
I don't know, I stopped watching Sesame Street at that point.
Q.
26!
And what does that mean?
Wasn't a 9 on the door.
It was a Q! A fucking lowercase q!
Yeah,
That's
pretty much
bullshit.
it. I guess to put it another way, you could say that it was a 9 in base 10, but a Q in base 27.
So here's the thing, Hunter. That's not a replacement for the Japanese wordplay. That was also the explanation in Japanese. Japanese just had the additional layer of the wordplay.
Yes. The Japanese had the benefit of 9 and Q being the same sound.
Yeah.
Whew.
Like, even in the Japanese version of this game, it is still, we're talking base 27, it's a Q, which is 26, which is what all of our stuff
right.
adds up to.
I'm gonna open it.
Yeah. I mean, explaining the Japanese wordplay wouldn't make
Yes.
any sense because they didn't
We're
use
finally
Q
here.
for 9 throughout the
Yeah, they
entire
never
Please
said
do.
seek a door that bears a Q. Got this one
And even
last big
the
heavy
whole reason
door.
that really works is because whenever they would read out the note, they would say Q, as opposed to just seeing the 9 on it.
Yeah, rather than just saying seek a door that bears a 9.
Which means the entire time they've been saying it, they've been saying Q, whereas suppose the entire time we've been saying 9.
Also, there is a much easier way of explaining the Q thing than having to go by bases, even though they established bases beforehand.
Then
Q
the
is
boat
17th
sank.
letter of digital root 8.
So the Gigantic sank at the end of the events of 9 years ago.
It's over.
Yeah.
What was that you were saying, Travis?
I was gonna say there's a simpler explanation for Q, or for whether or not it's the logic that Zero was using.
Hold that thought
there's
for
a
1
simpler way to
second,
explain the Q.
because the other revelation.
No way.
We've been in the Nevada desert the entire time. We were always in Building Q.
It can't be.
This is...
We were literally never in danger of actually having the boat sink and dying that way. Carry on,
Building in the
Krampus.
Nevada desert.
Anyway, I was just gonna say that Q is the 17th
Mock
letter of the
experiment
alphabet,
building.
and its digital root is 8.
Oh my god.
Yes, but the
Well,
point
this
is that
whole
that final
time
one
we
was
were in
actually
Building
not
Q.
digital root, very specifically.
Right.
Because it didn't need to be, although it's the same difference one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's super minor nitpicking at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically nobody was ever actually in danger of dying during this nonary game.
Except for all the people who died.
Yes, the 4 specific people that were responsible for the original nonary game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they were there purposely to die, so...
Yep.
Yes, they were there purposely to die in convoluted ways rather than just being shot and finding someone else.
Yep, here you go. Nobody other than those 4 ever had bombs in them. Ace did explicitly have a bomb caught at. Again, that's something Ushikoshi revealed later on and talked about it. Alright, so now we have hit the credits. Some stuff to talk about. First off,
That's a chip.
does anyone have any lingering questions about stuff? I will do my best. I will do my best to answer them to the best of my knowledge, or provide theories if there is no actual confirmed knowledge.
Why did Hongo have to be one of the actual participants?
Hongo was involved as one of the participants of the second nonary game, so that they could take their revenge on it.
Okay, but couldn't they just, I don't know, shoot him in the face and not worry about having a man who is kind of murderous and insane running about screwing with the game?
I mean, that's part of the thing, is that they had essentially calculated the game to involve Hongo, so that he would be responsible for killing the others. They specifically wanted to use him as a tool of revenge on the other people. And also, in theory, even though they knew it was really unlikely that it was going to happen, they would have been perfectly happy if he had actually made it to the captain's quarters and made his admission of guilt for the events of 9 years ago. Let's see, some other things. So yeah, there were no bombs in anybody other than the 9th man, Ace, Nijisaki, and technically Musashido did have a bomb, but it was never actually necessary. He just died by the axe. Got axed.
Alright, there's a post-credit stinger.
Are you okay?
Oh, come on. This is nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't look okay.
How does it look then?
Well, let's see. It looks like you kissed a toad and got warts, but then they just kept growing and growing and growing.
What does that even mean? Ow, ow, ow.
That's what happens when you get into a fist fight with a squirrel.
I told you you're not okay. You're too reckless. You can't beat
Yeah, that
5
fight was
8th
nuts.
graders, Jumpy. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I couldn't just stand there. I mean, don't you think so? I had to do something.
So what they actually do to Hondo?
Oh, you'll find out in a second here. That is absolutely addressed in this little post-credit scene.
Hmm.
Woohoo! This is so fun! This is so awesome! Driving is so great when there's nothing around, and there's no speed limit.
Hey, Clover, watch those bumps, all
Yeah,
right?
that's how I learned to drive.
This car jumps even a little, and I think I'm gonna get crushed to death.
Hey, shut it. I can't help if I'm big, all right? Suck it up.
Why don't you drive, Seven?
I'm a cop.
That's a good
I ain't gonna
question.
break the law.
He doesn't have an international license.
Yeah,
Why
but
do you
could have
have-
sat in the passenger seat.
Oh, hell no. There's no way I'm giving this seat up. And Clover, there's no need to slow down. The car Santa and June are in should be somewhere down this road ahead of us.
Yeah, I saw some fresh tire tracks going out. There's no doubt about it.
Then we've got to hurry if we want to catch them, don't we?
Sure thing.
Also, Vince, just so we're clear, there is another explanation for the answer to your question, but it specifically involves an answer you're not going to like. Well, see, because Akane 9 years ago was witnessing the events of 9 years in the future, and in those events of 9 years in the future, that Nonary game had Hongo as one of the participants, they had to include Hongo as one of the participants so that the visions that Akane had would be accurate to create the situation in order to prevent, to create the situation needed to help her escape.
You're right, I don't like that.
Yep, time fuckery.
What the hell are you doing?
Oh, you're gonna fucking hate the other games then.
Help me!
Yeah, this game has
officer,
the least
please,
time
you have
fuckery
to
of any
come
of
with
them.
me.
Yup.
This game is just sort of casual, passive
couldn't
time
run away
fuckery.
after
The
you
others
were the
involve
kitty, Jimmy?
actively fucking up the time stream.
Yeah, I guess I could've.
Then why didn't you?
I didn't want to. I wanted to beat him up. Beat him up real good.
Because of what they were doing to the kitty.
Yeah, that too, but I think they were the ones behind those murders our first semester. Remember?
Oh, you mean the bunnies.
Yeah, the bunnies. They asked me what elementary school I was from, so I told them. And then they said they'd do the same thing to you that they did to the rabbits. I couldn't forgive them for that, so I...
Hey, there's still some stuff I don't get. Like Ace. Well, I guess I should say Gitaro Hongo. Why did he create the Nonary project? Anybody? Any ideas?
Why don't you ask him yourself?
He's still in the trunk, I assume?
Hey,
Yes,
you
there's
listening
your
to us?
answer of what they did with Hongo. They stuffed him in the trunk and taped his mouth shut.
Come on, I know you were. Answer me.
I only wanted to see the faces. Human faces. I thought if I could gain the ability to access the morphic field set.
As far as this game is concerned, it's a combination between budget and trying to fit on a
Peering
DS
into
cartridge.
people's minds.
Yeah, mostly.
You could understand how they were processing the expressions of others.
That's it?
Yes, if you want to put it simply. But if you are looking for a more philosophical answer, I can supply that as well. You see, the human collective consciousness...
All right, put the tape back on his mouth.
Yep.
All right. So what's your second question?
You said there were some things you didn't get, didn't you?
Well, my next question doesn't really have anything to do with you two. This is for you, Seven. It's about the whole Alice thing. What's the deal with that?
Red herring.
Well, see, 9 years ago, after I escaped from the Gigantic, I kept going after Hongo on my own, hoping I'd catch him when he finally slipped up. During the course of my investigations, I learned a lot more about the Gigantic. I also found out about Bourdain and Alice.
You're not really answering my question. Was there actually a girl who wouldn't melt at room temperature?
No one cares.
What?
Alice doesn't exist. 9 years ago, I found Alice's coffin behind the library on the bottom deck. There was nothing in it but the root of a peculiar plant. My research determined that it was a member of the genus Mandragora, of the family Solanaceae. I was able to extract a particular alkaloid from it. I used that extract to create Socorro. Its creation was a tremendous boon to my firm, and we grew rapidly.
So there is part of your explanation, sort of, as to why Hongo had to actually, like, be fair in the game, is because he was not actually the one backing the nonary game. It was an experiment being done by his company, Cradle Pharmaceuticals, but he had financial backers that were interested in the results of that experiment, and so he had to basically kowtow to their whims. Because at the time, Cradle Pharmaceuticals was not actually all that successful of a company.
Here, this is for you.
What's this?
This is a for you doll. His name is Junpei.
Jumpy, are you sure it's, for you, doll?
Huh? Yeah, the lady at the shop said so, so that means it's for you, right?
Are you sure it's not a voodoo doll?
Wait, what? That's... Oh, man. Oh, man.
Well, it sure looks like a voodoo doll. I mean, you do know what a voodoo doll is used for, right?
Yeah, I guess calling it Junpei isn't
Accessing the morphogenetic field.
Why are you giving me this anyway? It just seems really sudden.
Well, you know how after June, we aren't gonna get to see each other too much? I mean, we're gonna be in different schools, and I just thought I'd,
Oh, okay, well, how about we call it June, then?
Okay. So, I wanted to give you this.
You sound like some sort of tribal chief in a bad movie.
Yes. I, head of tribe.
Give
this doll, traditional charm of tribe. So I give this. It me. So we always together.
Oh, Jumpy.
If something bad, then hold and pray. I go wherever you are. So here.
I go, you stay, no following.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jumpy. Oh, Jumpy, I'll never forget you. I promise.
I'll never forget you either.
And that was when Second Impact happened.
Hey, look! Over there. There's somebody next to the road.
So that point, by the way, was intentionally left ambiguous as to whether or not Seven actually had amnesia or was just lying the entire time.
Meet the joke the director loves to keep telling.
And so we have reached the final true ending of 9 doors, 9 persons, 9 hours, I think is the order that shit goes
9
in.
hours, 9 persons, 9 doors.
Something like that. Yeah. But, yeah. So, yes. Get the achievement for don't forget your towel. As you can see now, we have all of the indicators for the endings.
Yep.
And we have the full flowchart accessible. If for some reason we wanted to
go somewhere else.
Go back and play through the game again or something. But yeah, so there's a few other kind of interesting points to bring up. We'll head back to the
menu screen or something.
Yeah, as soon as it lets me. There we go.
Okay.
So, first off, I don't know if I ever pointed this out before, but we do have memories of escape now, so you can actually go and do any of the escape rooms you've previously done. We also have preview, which just shows us the little preview videos here. But yeah, so like I said, after this game was released, and before Virtue's Last Reward, the second game in the series, was actually even confirmed to be a thing. Because this game was originally intended to just be a one-off game. It was never actually intended to be part of a series, but because of its popularity, they kind of asked for more, and that's where we got the other two games in the series from. But after this game released, Uchikoshi did like an interview with a magazine and provided a lot of answers to some very frequently asked questions, provided a lot more information and details. So there's some really interesting things in there, actually. That I think are kind of interesting. So first of all, that's where I got that thing about, the reason Hongo was there is because, Akane saw the game of the future, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's actually addressed. Specifically, this was addressed with the question, given Gentaro Hongo's obvious instability, why was a loaded gun placed in the coffin? Whose use did Akane intend it for? Just Santa, since he was in on it? The answer is, Akane had seen everything through Junpei's eyes 9 years before. If she didn't recreate the situation exactly, then she wouldn't have been able to save herself as a child. That's the reason for the gun and why it was loaded. It is important to note, by the way, even though it's never outright explicitly stated, Akane is the identity of Zero, not actually Santa.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be sort of implied from some of her dialogue in the end there, where she's saying, like, no, I guess you could say I'm less than Zero. You know, I will become Zero, blah, blah, blah. Explanations for the watch thing. So, Akane's watch was an upside-down 6, making it a 9. Santa's watch was actually the value of 0. The reason why his watch showed 3 is not actually have an official canon. The sort of common theory is that it's an upside-down E for empty, but Uchikoshi basically said, like, originally I intended that to be the case, but it felt kind of forced to put that in there, so I didn't really pan it out. I just kind of left it as it was.
This is also why he rushed it in the
yes
route where you end up going through door 2.
Yes, when you force the issue of, well, either Santa can come or Clover and Lotus can come, one of you better get here. That's why he runs balls out to make it there, because if Lotus and Clover had both put theirs in, it actually wouldn't have worked, and that would have revealed the
because he uses questions. June's initially, and basically he always has to go through June's door. So
yes, because
equals 9.
Things remain
secret. because they are 3 and 6, which would normally add up to 9. But if you don't have the 3 with the 6, then
it becomes very obvious that someone's number isn't correct.
Yeah, so that was part of that.
That's why when he does like the whole like tricks people, has 2 people scan it first and be like, well, someone has to come with. He's like, fuck, and bolts past the other 2 people to get in there, because otherwise it throws their whole thing off.
Yeah. So further explanation kind of about the time loop thing and the whole, like, different realities. What exactly is the true ending all about? How can June/Akane be alive during the Nonary game, yet be dead from 9 years earlier? Why is the final puzzle upside down? Is it supposed to be as if you're seeing the last puzzle from Akane's perspective? Uchikoshi says, I get a lot of these sorts of questions in Japan too, but I want you to think about it from another perspective. If, hypothetically, the story in 999 is about Akane dying 9 years ago, and Santa coming up with the whole plan to save his sister's life, then what happens if Junpei does save Akane 9 years in the past? Does she suddenly materialize in front of everyone, or will she just appear in some remote location? Wouldn't that be even stranger? If that happened, then what was she doing during the 9 years since the first Nonary game? It seems to me that she would have had to exist somewhere. Huh? Then it's only natural for her to exist in Building Q, don't you think? In fact, don't you think it makes a lot more sense if that's the case? Let's say that right now you discover how to access the past, and you save a kitten that was supposed to have been run over by a truck. That kitten wouldn't be alive an hour ago, or even 2 hours ago, right? I mean, you saved it 3 days ago. That's what I was trying to portray. In regards to the puzzle about the question about the last puzzle being upside down, Uchikoshi's thinking was that the top screen was the future, the bottom screen was the past. So if you solve the puzzle on the top screen, then that means that Junpei single-handedly solved the puzzle in the future, and that's what was trying to be portrayed there. So yes, that image at the very end of what we saw, the lady out in the desert who appeared to all intents and purposes to be Alice. Why did they put Alice at the end of the real ending like that? Also, why wasn't there a cool CG with Junpei and Akane at the end? Was she really Alice? How do you know? We never show a real picture of Alice in the game. There's an image of her, but that was only what Junpei imagined her to look like when he heard the story about All Ice. Or perhaps that was an image of how Alice as Akane knew her. You could say that perhaps that image was sent by Akane to Junpei's brain. If that was the case, then what is the physical appearance of Alice that Akane knew? Pretty intriguing, right? Whatever the case, it means that Alice was a person who actually existed. In order to get that across, I decided to have her show up in the ending. As to why there isn't a picture at the end of Junpei and Akane, regardless of the reasons, Akane was the mastermind and her scheme led to the deaths of at least a few people. How could she show her face to them after doing all that? That's why she's hiding. Also, I mentioned earlier that she had to go begin preparing for the larger thing she had planned. So there is more story to this. Like, Uchikoshi had an idea for what Akane and Santa left to go do after all of this, but again, it was never intended to be an additional game. Now, also on that one, Krampus does have an additional theory about the appearance of Alice at the end there, if you'd like to go into that, Krampus.
So, my pet theory, and this is supported by stuff we learn, not supported by, but the science that they pull out in the later games, makes me believe that what we were seeing when he was imagining the story of Alice and like the pictures of Alice that we saw were him subconsciously accessing the morphogenetic field and seeing what Alice really looked like, though it's possible that he's resonating with something else that we'll touch on in the next game.
Yeah, so it is important to note that the person that was in the desert there is actually a character named Alice, but is absolutely not the,
Not all ice.
frozen several hundred-year-old Egyptian queen.
Yeah.
The real explanation, as I said, is the author of the game, the guy who wrote the main story and directed it, just really likes the concept of the all-ice mummy, and it shows up in some capacity in at least this game and the next game, and I believe it also shows up as a callback in the third game.
So, as far as stuff about the people that were in the first Nonary game, so obviously we have a lot of kind of weird reality alter stuff going on, but in theory, when we're in the true ending, we're in the reality wherein Akane Kuroshiki did actually escape from the Nonary game 9 years ago. So the question becomes that why did Seven, Snake, and Santa all insist that Akane died 9 years ago? So according to Uchikoshi, Santa lied about her death in order to save her. Since Snake was on the ship too, we can assume that he knew the truth about Akane's death as well. If we are going to believe that Seven didn't lie, then we can assume that a fake memory was implanted in his mind somehow. If I tried to explain that in the story, though, I was worried people would think I was just coming up with random excuses, so I left it up to the player's interpretation. If it makes more sense to you that both Snake and Seven were in on the plot with Santa and lied to move things along, I'm totally fine with that. So that at the very end there, when he's kind of trying to figure out, like, did Seven lie to him or what, did he ever have amnesia? That was left intentionally ambiguous there. A very amusing question from the questionnaire that was done after the events was, did they ever catch up to Akane and Aoi in the end? To which Uchikoshi replied, nope, they didn't. Junpei goes on to spend the rest of his life chasing after her, which is actually explicitly contradicted in later games. But I do kind of sort of hand wave that as a general stance of, look, at the time he didn't plan to make any more games of this, so he kind of had one story in mind. But once he did decide to actually start, once it came time to start making those further games, the decision was made that, like, okay, we're going to alter, some of the ideas I had for that story to fit better with making the games proceed.
That, or it was a flippant answer because the question was kind of dumb.
Yeah. That's a good point and definitely a possibility. Again, keeping in mind that there's no full confirmation, but yeah, I could see the idea being that it's like two timelines merging, which is why Seven was getting the bad headache when things kind of changed from how he remembered them to the new reality.
Hyper time.
Yeah. It is also important to note, by the way, that unlike the other like bad ends where Akane disappeared specifically because the timeline had changed to the point where she had died 9 years ago, in the final ending, Uchikoshi does explicitly point out that in the true end, when they turn back and like Akane is gone from the corner she's in, she just actually left the room when they were all distracted. she and Santa just fucking snuck out, basically.
Well, Santa didn't sneak out. He took.
Yeah, but he took on, but like while everyone was distracted, Akane basically just fucking bounced. She just like snuck out the door before Santa. Let's see. Since it was brought up before, Uchikoshi does fully admit that he was influenced by the Saw movies. He is actually a fan of those films. But he does say he feels like the Saw movie was influenced a lot by conventional adventure and like escape the room type games. So he kind of feels like, rather than saying that this game was inspired by Saw, more like saying that it and Saw share inspirations. Let's see. What other interesting things?
There are a lot of lingering questions that I'm intentionally keeping my trap shut about because the second and third games do explicitly go into them.
Yes, there obviously there being two more games in this series. There are some questions that I'm not going to talk about right now. Some things I'm not going to talk about distinctly, just because they are things that will come up in future games. Oh, here's an interesting one. It kind of doesn't make a huge difference, but so if both Aoi and Akane are in the ship and they are both transmitters, then who's the ninth person that should be Akane's replacement in the Nevada building? Is he or she the only one that doesn't have siblings and supposed to be Akane's receiver? Uchikoshi responds, of course there was a girl who took Akane's place. There was some confusion and the two of them were swapped. That would have meant that at Building Q in Nevada, there were two sisters in the same location. So far as Akane and receiving, she was especially good at sending, but that didn't mean that she could only send. She has the ability to receive as well. All of the children have both. Some were just better at one than the other. That's the point I was kind of bringing up about the whole, like, transmitter-receiver thing. They're not exclusive, it's just tendencies. So another answer to your earlier question about like why didn't they just shoot Ace in the face, like it also kind of further explain why he was just stuffed in the trunk of one of the SUVs. Why was Ace allowed to live in the end while his cohorts were killed? He seems to be the biggest monster. According to Uchikoshi, I think it was because he was the person she felt the most animosity towards, because there was so much hatred towards him, she didn't want him to let him die that easily. She wanted him to admit his sins and either be judged legally, or even just wanted to admit his faults in public. That is what I believe Akane and Santa's motives were. If the people involved all died, then the truth would have been lost. I believe they wanted everyone to know about the horrific event they'd been forced to take part in. A little bit further explanation about Snake. In addition, just to the general kind of thing that is actual scientific fact that a lot of times when one sight or one sense is diminished or disabled, other senses do tend to ramp up to compensate. It is also explained that part of the reason why Snake is so acute and has so good senses is actually because of just the ability to access the morphogenetic field. He actually utilizes that to bolster his senses. A common theory that gets brought up, Lotus was Lotus originally planned to be Alice? It would have made all the gags about her age much funnier. And Uchikoshi basically just outright says, like, we never really thought about it. However, he thinks it is really funny. Like, it was never intended, but he thinks it's a really funny idea. Kind of minor notes. So here's actually sort of a much more historical explanation of the Nonary games, which is kind of interesting. Which stems off of a very sort of incongruous question, which was, what did the robe Snake was wearing after you rescue him out of the coffin mean? And what did the flags next to the coffin mean? And so Tsuchikaze was like, well, we sort of made Nagisa Najisaki wear Snake's clothes. I believe the only other thing he could have worn were those ceremonial robes in Building Q. I think Akane and Santa felt bad that they made Snake naked. As a side note, that ceremonial outfit actually belonged to Lord Gordain. Back in the day, he and his friends were conducting strange ceremonies in the incinerator. As another side note, the Nonary game wasn't Gentaro's idea, it was Gordain's. He would take young Englishmen who'd accumulated massive debts and force them to play games on the ship. He would enjoy the show with his millionaire friends, and they would bet money on who would survive. All the losers were burned in the incinerator as a sacrifice during the ceremony. After many years of this, Gordain died of old age, but the games continued. In the final game, Gentaro was abducted and forced to participate. He was victorious and felt that if he could win the game, then he could come up with a better one. He told Gordain's successor and his fellow millionaires as much. They decided it sounded interesting and told him to do it. That was what led to the Nonary game that happened 9 years before 999. Of course, Gentaro's true intention was to test the theory of morphogenetic fields, but that was the story behind the Nonary game. He inherited the ship from the millionaires and hosted the game. That was how he got all the funding as well. In other words, there were millionaires watching the game 9 years before 999 and placing bets on who would live and who would die. Yes, they were truly rotten people. That was also when Gentaro found the mandrake root in the coffin. He used that drug to create the drug Soparil that made him a millionaire. So that's like explicitly direct from Uchikoshi. The reason why Gentaro still had to play by the rules and actually give opportunities to escape was because there were millionaires watching and betting on the game, and they would be very upset if things didn't go according to at least their expectations, if not necessarily their plans.
I'm almost certain that's partially contradicted by later stuff. But I'd have to go back and refresh.
I don't think so, actually, because all the stuff that comes up in the later games is specifically about the new Nonary games and not the original Nonary game. All the later stuff is all about like the organization that Akane and Santa set up, but doesn't really tie to the stuff that from the Nonary game they were in.
Yeah, fair enough.
So another just kind of interesting passing note. Lotus's real name is actually Hazuki Kashiwabara. Seven does not actually have a name. Like, they never actually gave him a real name. Lotus's name never actually comes up. Like, in the Japanese version, her last name is revealed to be Kashiwabara, but they never actually bring up her first name. It's just that Ujikoshi always thought of her first name as Hazuki, which means August in an older Japanese dialect. Her ex-husband was named Ichiro, which is firstborn son. So if you get 1 from his name and 8 from her name, because August is the 8th month, that gives you 9, which is why her twins are named Nona and Enya, which are both names that mean 9. Interesting question that happened after 3.9, but before Virtue's Last Reward. If there was to be a sequel, would it be a direct one or one set in a different timeline, like future or past, alternate universe, or different place altogether? To which his response was, if there were to be one, I would come up with completely different characters, and then mix in some of the characters from 999 and build a story from that. Of course, the setting will then be them being stuck in a room that they can't get out of. Storyline would be after the events of 999. ... Of course, this is all hypothetical. Kind of the joke being is that is basically exactly what happened with Virtue's Last Reward and Zero Time Dilemma. Other interesting sort of design notes. If Junpei and the Ninth Man actually had code names, what would they be? He says that since Junpei's number is 5, he probably would have been either Hand or Star, possibly even Penta. As for the Ninth Man, he says he would probably have been Pigeon, because in kanji, Pigeon is the number 9 plus the kanji for bird.
9 hours, 9 persons, 9 pigeons. The Hatoful Boyfriend
secretly
Hatoful
boyfriend.
Okay. Yeah, caw motherfuckers indeed. So, kind of just an interesting technical note. All of the artwork for the game was actually originally drawn in 1024 by 768, even though the game itself was being made for the DS, where the screen resolution is 256 by 192. So they did very high-res art for the game that was going to be represented on very low res, which is also why very little art actually had to be redone for the later remaster for the Nonary Games version, because they already had much higher resolution art. And for doing stuff like this, because like this, for instance, I've been playing in 1080, but 1024 upscales fairly well enough to 1080 that it's not really terribly noticeable.
No, the difference is relatively small.
Also, according to Uchikoshi, after the events of 999, Seven and Lotus is totally a canon couple. Seven got his scars after the events of the first Nonary game 9 years ago, while battling a particularly powerful global organization, is what he says. Yeah, so the events of 999 take place in the year 2027, so the first Nonary game took place in 2018. That one is actually just something that comes up in later games, so I'm not going to talk about it. One tiny question when it comes to an individual's ability to transmit and receive messages from the field. Concerning Junpei's abilities, was he born with them, or did they awaken mainly because Akane had such a strong bond with him in the first place? To which Uchikoshi simply responded, "You are right, it is the power of love." Just doing a quick brief browse through to see if there are any other really interesting answers from it, but we're getting kind of towards the end of those list. Yeah, that's really about it. Then just also confirmation that the person wearing the gas mask was Akane, however the kidnappings were done by Santa. So, yeah, that basically brings us to the end of the answer section for 999. He also did one for Virtue's Last Reward, but obviously we'll get to that when we are done with Virtue's Last Reward, which will be quite a while from now. Because prior to that, we have a new story we'll be starting next week on Sound Goblin Storytime.
Yes,
we're going to be doing
next week.
some bizarre Japanese game called Dungeon Ron Paul.
It's a horrible political simulator. No, 999 and 999 had a contemporary. They both came out at about the same time, or pretty close to each other, and both of them kind of kickstarted a big wave of visual novels coming over to the United States because they both did reasonably well, and that coupled with a lot of fan requests made Spike Chunsoft think that there was a net viable market for it. So 999 is a more scientific and, I hate to say it, but I have to, grounded experience.
Yeah.
In comparison
comparatively.
to Danganronpa.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that'll probably wrap it up if nobody has any other questions or anything else they want to bring up, any theories, anything they want to discuss about it.
No.
Yeah, we're good.
Yep.
All right. So that being the case, then we will be back on Tuesday with some more of our saving Earth from the horrible invading aliens with the Earth Defense Force 5. Next Saturday, we'll be back around again with more Trails in the Sky.
Second chapter.
Yep. And next Sunday, we will be starting our second story for all of our viewers here with Danganronpa from the very beginning. So thank you all for joining us again. I have been Bograt.
I've been the Krampus.
I've been Shiv.
And I'm Vincent. Or am I?
Hope you all have a good one.
Have a good one,
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.